Hi there, and welcome to the Coffee with Christine and Goose show. I'm your host, Christine DeGennaro, and I'm joined by my pet duck named Goose. Together, we're here to motivate and inspire you with uplifting daily messages. Grab a cup of tea or coffee, and let's get started with your daily dose of love and caffeination. Good morning, friends. Today is March the 11th of 2023. Today is episode number 13, The Unfortunate Truth About Healing. So this whole week, we've been discussing healing and what it means to heal your soul, heal your emotions. And this is all inspired by my friend Jasmine, who's also a life coach. And while we were talking, we had this beautiful moment where she asked, when do we stop healing? So if you're new here and you've never listened to us before, my name is Christine DeGennaro, and I am joined by my pet duck named Goose, who's hanging out in the corner. And we are talking today about healing and the unfortunate truths about it. Now, there are three that I have stumbled across that I want to share with you today. And before we dive in, I always like to pull a tarot card to set the intention for what we can look for throughout the episode and take with us throughout the day. So today's card is the Magician. It's number 1, which usually represents our root chakra. The Magician is a master of all the cards, all the suits in the tarot deck. So he's in charge of the wands and the pentacles and the cups and the swords, and he's mastered all of these. And when it comes to healing, the truth is we have to master all those components of our own personal being. So if we're talking about pentacles, we're talking about our physical presence. If we're talking about wands, we're talking about our spirit and our fire and our passion. When we're talking about swords, we're talking about our thoughts and what makes us think and how we act. And then when it comes to cup, it comes to our heart and our flow, and the heart cycle is what pumps blood through us and keeps the body moving. So as a magician, he is in charge of mastering all of these elements of what makes us who we are. And a magician has the confidence to do so, which it's really funny because today the category, I always try to aim to talk to a different personality type each and every single day. Sorry about that. Each and every single day, I aim to direct my message to a different personality type. And ironically enough, which I thought was really funny and fitting, is I classify the person who I'm targeting as a magician. They're the person who is similar to myself in that they love to master all the different skills, all the different insights, to be able to pull strings and make things happen, almost like an alchemist, almost like someone who can create something from nothing. So today, my message are for those who are intrigued by the behind the scenes and the whole thinking and the mastery of skills and emotion behind the scenes. So I am sipping on my Maxwell House. I ended up getting a brand new pot of Maxwell House coffee, but we're drinking coconut creme coffee from Coffee Mate today. So if you are sipping, make sure you're grabbing a cup of coffee, make sure you're grabbing a cup of tea, whatever it is you want to drink, and we're going to dive on in to the 3 unfortunate truths about healing. All right. So again, this whole entire week on healing has been inspired by my friend Jasmine, who is also a coach. And we had a conversation where she herself was feeling very lost, very upset by a certain event that just happened to her recently. And just, it brought up so much icky stuff within her. And I don't know about you, but I have that happen quite often, and I had that happen recently as well too, where a lot of things that I've personally faced were pushed aside and not dealt with. And it was kind of thrown out at me that I have been doing what I keep inspiring others to do, which is to deal with their emotions. And I, in fact, have been stuffing my emotions and stuffing my healing process. So this whole week, I've been focusing very heavily on healing because I am in the process of doing it myself, which is what I found interesting. My friend Jasmine reached out for she's conducting her own healing. And this was before either one of us had spoken about this. So I find it very interesting how those in our lives are oftentimes on the same path and the same wavelength. It's beautiful to see that. That's part of manifesting and sharing energy. So one of the things, the first thing that I want to point out is just because you know better, it doesn't mean you're not human. And what do I mean by that? It means Jasmine's a coach. I'm a coach, and we should know that processing things takes time, that we should always be striving to heal, that we should deal with our emotions as they come up. And just because we know better doesn't mean we're not human and have a tendency to react the same way the rest of you all humans do. You know, one of my favorite parts of speaking with therapists and social workers is understanding that they too know their limits. Sometimes it's easier to guide other people when we can be objective than it is to be, what is the saying? Do as I say, not as I do. And we try to lead by example. We try to showcase the effort that we've gone into our own healing and to be able to deal with our own emotions and yuck when working with other people. But we are human and we do have things going on and we do have emotions and we do get overwhelmed by things that bring up things from the past. And that's okay. So the thing is that it's important for you to heal, but you can also never get comfortable getting back into your patterns. Oh, that's a big one. So once you understand how important healing is, it's always going to be in the back of your mind. What do I need to heal? What can I be healing? What do I heal today? What caused this to hurt? What caused this to bring up this heavy emotion that I'm feeling? And so once we know better, we can't just turn it off and pretend that we don't know anything about healing. We do. And I think that's what makes it so uncomfortable is the fact that we, at this point, once we uncover healing and once we uncover a process for healing, we can't ever go back. We might get stuck in our patterns again, and we might get caught back up, but you're never going to be comfortable with it. So that being said, number 2, there is a difference between being comfortable and being content in your patterns. So when you're comfortable in your patterns, that means that you are at an understanding that you are always going to be growing. When you are content in your patterns, that means that you are not willing to seek that change. You are willing to be stuck and you are not going to go anywhere. So there's a difference between comfortable in the patterns and understanding that change needs to happen and being content in your patterns and not allowing yourself to grow. All right. Now, number 3, this is one of the really super hard, unfortunate truths about healing is your patterns are going to continue to show up every time you're ready to level up. And they are going to be diving deeper each and every single time. Now, it was funny because the more I think about the conversation that I had with Jasmine, the more I think about communication. I know for her in her past, that was something that had been a big deal. And Jasmine, you and I are going to talk about this because I had this brainstorm and we're going to go even deeper into this. But your pattern. So I know for myself, my pattern is a fear of abandonment. And that is something that I've really had to come to terms with over the course of my lifetime. Now, for those of you who don't know, I was born and raised in New York, but I was adopted. I was 2 days old, or like they had the adoption arranged when I was born. So I already was in the process, and all of that was set before I was actually physically born. But I never found out about my birth parents, and I was raised just as loved and secure and safe and cherished and adored as any child could be. I grew up in a middle class family. My father was always working. My mom was able to be a stay-at-home mom, and we always had breakfast in the morning. We always had lunch in our lunch bags. Mom was always, almost always home. And when she wasn't, it was because she was out either grocery shopping or with her friends and came home very shortly after we got home from school. So we always had dinner on the table. She would help us do our laundry. Like, there was nothing that we didn't have that we were cared for. Now, one of the things that I do remember in my own healing is that when I was young, they always told me that I was adopted. And from an early age, I understood that that just meant that I was special, that someone wasn't able to take care of me. And so these beautiful people took me in and raised me as their own child. However, somewhere along the way, it got twisted in my head that I wasn't wanted by my birth parents. And this is something that has caused me so much pain throughout my entire life. And it started when I was in like elementary school, and one of my best friends didn't want to spend time with me anymore. And it made me feel like I wasn't good enough. And that continued all the way through. That goes back to my first relationships. It goes back to my friendships. And it goes all throughout my entire adulthood. By not feeling like I was good enough, it was an abandonment issue. And the healing has continued to show up in my relationships. It has continued to show up in my constant struggle for approval. It shows up in so many different ways. And while there's been a whole intense amount of healing around it and getting comfortable with who I am and getting comfortable with what I'm doing, it has actually created a weird dynamic between my partner and I right now. And that is a weird healing that took place when he and I went through some issues during health crises earlier on. And the thing is, you don't realize it until you're called out on it, until someone says, there's a pattern here. Let's call your attention to it. And by understanding that there is a connection between what you are currently experiencing, where you are feeling stuck, and your current patterns and your history of patterns, it helps you shift. It does. It helps you shift, but you also have to be willing to continue to do the work. And it's exhausting and it's frustrating. And that is one of the most unfortunate parts about healing, is that it never stops. It never stops. And just when you think you're done, you've moved on, you graduated, it's time to level on up. Life is like a video game, baby. It is time for you. You just mastered that boss. It's time to move up into the next level. Okay. So here's the deal. Healing is never finished. You grow and you unfold. And I want you to think of it like a rose. Each new experience, you're unfurling. And each level that you unfurl, it's revealing a whole new level. All right. But it's up to you to nurture the rose into a blossom and celebrate each unfolding petal, no matter how painful it might be. Because what it does is it creates this beautiful story that is your life. your rose. Healing has to happen for you to be able to experience your life to the utmost. All right? Here's the deal. Let Goose and I help you uncover your patterns, uncover your stuckness, and help you celebrate. Even if it's just a special uplifting message, we have those just for you and Goose approved messages. Or if you want to set up a phone call and really talk through and see if there's anything that we can do to help you, we would love to set up a coffee chat. All you have to do is head down to the links. You can either request a personalized message from Goose, and we'll send you an inspiring, uplifting message of your choice you can request, or we can get on a call and we can chat. So I hope you do either one of those things. If you are listening on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, make sure you are acknowledging, make sure you're commenting, make sure you're liking, loving, and sharing the post. We're trying to get our uplifting messages out there to the world. So if you haven't already also, make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms. We're on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And obviously we're here on YouTube. So we are so excited to have you as part of our flock and part of our circle. If you all have any questions or need any help, any guidance, you can reach out to us and book a call or request a message. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you joining us for your daily dose of love and caffeination. We hope you have a wonderful day and go and live with passion.